Hello and welcome to BloombergQuint. We have with us Diana Layfield. She's the Vice President Product Management at Google. Ma'am, today you've launched Tez, made for India first payments app. Please talk us through the product. What new is going to bring for the market, which is already so clouded, and what was the thought process that went into launching such a product and developing such a product in India?
Well, we believe the market in India isn't crowded. We believe this is a huge opportunity in India, and that India is very much at the start of a big digital payments journey. If you think about how much of the economy in India is cash-based now, the great competition for all of us is cash. So we believe we're another participant in building India's digital ecosystem. So I think the first thing I'd say is we don't think the market's too crowded, and we think it's not late. In terms of what we believe we bring with the app, we believe we bring a number of distinctive features. The first is it's modeled around the way Indians interact. So the chat-based nature of the app reflects the way in which people think about their conversations and interactions over money. And it's a very, very different type of user interface to any other payments app. I think the second is that we've tried to localize this as much as possible. It's reflected in our provision of already 8 different Indian languages with more to come. And I think finally the way in which we've thought about building on the government infrastructure. So we've started by building payments on top of UPI, which means that the overwhelming majority of Indians in the country who have access to bank accounts will be able to use Tez.
And ma'am, what would be your strategy to compete with existing players? Like you said, you don't have a competition. You don't think there's a competition for you in the market. What would be your strategy to compete with others? And how do you expect Tez to fare out in the market?
Well, I think we're bringing a number of very innovative features. I mean, we showed you cash mode, where when you bring 2 phones together, they pair over ultrasound. That's a way of making nearby payments that no one else has come up with. We believe it operates very similarly to cash. We believe it will be hugely compelling. So those and the other features I've talked about, we think will be really distinctive in the market. In terms of how we think it will fare, obviously we hope it will do great.
Ma'am, you said it's a free for all app. Do you plan to impose a fee on the transaction made on your platform? And if not, what would be the how do you plan to earn any revenue from this venture?
So we have no plans to impose a fee for using the app. In terms of how we make money, if you know anything about Google, you'll know that we think about building great products first and monetization second. So our focus right now is building a great product that people across the country want to use. Moving beyond that, we think if you build a fantastic app that hundreds of millions of people want to use, you can worry about monetization later.
I would just like to ask you a broader question on digitization. During demonetization, India saw a spike in digital transactions, but somehow they got normalized with the cash being enough to serve people's requirements. So do you see the spike again in digital transaction, and how do you expect Tez to come in here and serve people's needs for digital transactions?
I think 2 things. First of all, it hasn't subsided back down to the level that it was at before. What you saw was a big spike over demonetization, which actually was very interesting. It taught people how to use other forms of money. And I think that's one of the real reasons why it hasn't dropped back down to the pre-demonetization level. You see digital transactions overall are at least 50–75% higher than they were pre-demonetization. So I think you've seen a structural upshift. I don't think you'll see another spike like that because that was a very unusual event. But I do think what you'll see now, what you are seeing, is a higher rate of structural growth off a higher base. And this is a long game. This is about digitizing payments for India. This isn't something that happens overnight. We're committed to building this over the long term, but I think there's as much stronger growth right now.
Okay. My last question to you, what sort of a customer base do you target in this year?
So obviously, as we've said, we want to make this accessible to all Indians. In the short term, clearly this is for people who have a smartphone, which is a very, very rapidly increasing number of Indians. And we want to find people who will have UPI-enabled accounts who will want to use the exciting features in our app.
So people having smartphones in India would be your target audience, and you would want all of them to use the Tez platform?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on BloombergQuint, ma'am.